Aid organisation Gift of the Givers has joined firefighting teams who are battling raging veld fires in the Western Cape. Founder Dr Imtiaz Sooliman joins us now with more on intervention operations. Imtiaz, good morning. Compliments again to you for the season. Thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate it. I know it's a busy day operationally. Let's get into that operation, and it sounds like it's quite an extensive and involved one, involving farmers, the local emergency services, and so on. Talk to us about what they're seeing and what this, collaborative effort looks like.
Morning, Iman, and greetings to all your viewers for the new year. Yes, our teams were there yesterday afternoon. We got a call from the Kucha Municipality, and the most urgent request was for a helicopter. The length of the fire was almost 20 kilometers in length, so, they couldn't be in all areas at the same time. And even when my teams got there, there were many areas where there was just no firefighters. There was two reasons. One, there's not enough firefighters, and secondly, the area is too wide and it's too dangerous for firefighters to get in. For them to intervene effectively, we needed to control the fire from the air. Unfortunately, the last 5 minutes, our helicopters arrived at St. Francis Bay. It's a huge helicopter that can hold 2,000 liters of water, but it needs to be replenished all the time. We've sent in our own water tanker that is coming from Adelaide last night, and that water tanker will now replenish the plane at the airport to make sure we can fly repeatedly, very quickly. So a helicopter from the municipality will cover one side of the fire, and our helicopter will cover it from St. Francis Bay. That's the first aspect. The second thing is, last night, whilst our water tanker was around, we were replenishing farmers, filling their JoJo tanks, which they had on bakkies, and they were using these bakkies to go and help put out the fire in the different areas. Then, of course, for the pumps to work, the electricity was shut down, so they needed some support in terms of fuel. The fire has affected many substations. Most of the area was in total darkness, so the electricity was a problem. The road was a problem with the fire and the smoke on the road. And then the third thing is that because the electricity was cut off, the pumps in Mpofu Dam and Churchill Dam shut down, so there was no water. So water was affected, electricity was affected, roads were affected, and then our team started providing fuel to the farmers to run their pumps, as well as to water, to fill the JoJo tanks so they could fight the fire. You asked about the collaborative effort. It's disaster management, emergency services, road traffic inspectorate, SAPS, farmers on the ground, the community, people cooking food for helping each other, and our teams.
And it really does sound quite complicated, because particularly with the use of that water bomber helicopter, there's still a great deal of risk, because you have the wind in the mix as well. Just talk to us about the expertise of the teams that are managing intervention from the air.
South African firefighters are from the air. So they say the pilot we got is one of the best in the country. He's recommended by many, many people. He was involved in Mossel Bay over the last few days. We're there too in Mossel Bay. And then, of course, there was the problem in Overberg region. We're in that area also, and the fires are picking up in Elam area. So, yes, our teams are on the ground there. But this pilot, we spoke to him yesterday. He was going to be finishing off at Mossel Bay. And as you mentioned, fires are unpredictable. And suddenly the fire picked up in Mossel Bay, and he had to go back. But he said he made a commitment to us. And this morning, without us knowing, he suddenly tells us he's a couple of minutes from Rayfield Base in St. Francis Bay. We are extremely grateful for him for doing that. But, they say he's very skilled, very experienced in the firefight. He's even recommended to us by disaster management teams in the Western Cape. And people know about him, Richard Smith. So I'm sure it's going to be a great firefighting with the helicopter this morning.
Yeah, it'd be lovely to talk to that individual at some point, Imtiaz. And we've seen, these operations are not without their risk. We've seen, the deaths of firefighters and emergency personnel in fires down in Cape Town as well. And so you can really appreciate the skill that they have, but also the very risky conditions under which they are all working. So you mentioned everyone that's involved in the operation, and some of the needs which are now complicated by lack of power and a lack of water. What is the local municipality's role in a moment like this? Because if you're in an area that's highly prone to these sorts of natural events, what preparation are you observing was already in place that warranted you coming in with your team and scaffolding existing efforts?
Well, it's not only this municipality. This municipality has been proactive. We have a relationship with them. During the fire of December 2022 in Quebec, we were involved and we even paid them a visit. And sorry, not a fire. It was the day zero. We had paid them a visit in that time. And of course, the fire did come in 1st December 2022. We were involved in a big way. They knew the extent of our involvement. We brought in 2 planes and 2 helicopters at that point. So the moment the fire happened, they contacted us immediately. Now, there's 2 things to look at. One is the availability of resources. Secondly, the availability of equipment. Thirdly, the availability of personnel. And of course, the efficiency of the municipality. This municipality was very proactive. The moment it happened, they called us instantly. And, they were honest, as many municipalities have been with us when it comes to disasters, saying, look, we don't have the resources, we don't have the personnel, we can't bring in a helicopter, we can't bring in this, that, and the other. Can you help? We'll appreciate your help. When they're upfront, honest, and be direct and say, look, we really need your help. We can't manage it. But they do everything else. They bring the firefighters on board. They inform the community. They give evacuation notices. They prepare halls for the people. And they try to find alternative supplies. They try to make sure the water is functional. Like last night, when all those power stations were shut down, they immediately send notifications out. Unfortunately, ESCOM got on site. Some cases, it was only a trip. The switch was tripped. In other cases, of course, the cables have been damaged. And so quite a few substations are working again today. The dam is also functional. The technicians came to the dam and the ESCOM people were there. And both the Churchill Dam and Impofo Dam are functional, except that there's air trapping in the water pipes of the dam because, there was no pumping of water. The technicians are now pushing air out of the pumps. And they said, look, we need water tankers in the meantime whilst we're fixing the system. But to answer your question, this specific municipality and many that we've worked with in the Eastern Cape with Amtata floods in Butterworth and other areas, King Williamstown, Komani, they've been excellent in terms of mobilizing their own people, making arrangements, and with government. The most important aspect is cooperation. I joke with them, and they tell me, in which way can we help? I tell them, stay out of my way. That's what I tell them normally. And we've built a phenomenal relationship where it's not them and us. It's all of us working together, like I mentioned in the beginning, in the interest of South African people.
And as to the disaster itself, Imtiaz, what would you say the prognosis is for, a neutralization of the bigger issue, which is around the fire, the water provision and the power provision, and moving back into the restoration of normal life?
Well, from my teams, they were there the whole of last night into the morning. By their own estimation and from meeting the fire chiefs and people, the wind had subsided substantially. And they were very happy this morning. Some of the fires had died out. The wind had settled, but the chances are, the prediction is that the wind's going to pick up. And so whilst fires were out in some areas, new fires have started in other areas. This morning, there was a video lady sent to one of my team members. She was just driving normally on the road, and then she took a bend. Suddenly, there was a huge fire in front of her, and she managed to get out of it. And the fire spread to some other mountainous areas which are impassable, cannot be reached by firefighters off the ground. And that's why, if the wind stays like it is and not get too big or too strong, and with a second helicopter that has a huge capacity, and if we can turn it around very quickly to send more and more missions, which we will do, because our water tanker is on the station now at the airfield in St. Francis Bay, and we've got 2 other water tankers picking up water from 2 kilometers away. So by the time the plane comes back, we will replenish it same time so it can continue flying very fast in the area and dropping water. The prognosis to me then is going to be very good because there's another helicopter working. And as the fire gets bombed by the helicopter, it means firefighters can then get into the ground and do their job. The farmers can use their JoJo tanks or their buckets and do their work. ESCOM can establish all the power stations and the dam will be working fully. So I think we should see a substantial difference today. 5 houses have been totally destroyed, some additional structures and some cars. But fortunately, that's the maximum damage so far and no loss of life up till now.
What about animals, Imtiaz, people's pets or the animals that are indigenous to those particular affected areas?
I checked with them. Nobody's shocked that yet because they can't get to all the areas for the fire being so intense.
All right, Imtiaz Sooliman, thank you. I'll let you get back to your work. It is quite a concerning situation, as you've heard there. But every resource has been brought to bear on this situation for the local communities. Thank you for talking to us. That was the founder of A Gift of the Givers.